why? Why did somebody do this? Why would somebody go to the trouble of creating a hit piece, a doxing and smearing piece about a minor YouTuber, me, because I'm minor. I have 12, 13,000 subscribers. In the scheme of things, I'm tiny. Why would anybody, especially somebody with 750,000 subscribers, why would they go to the trouble of doing a 45-minute hit piece? Do you want to know why? It's always very important to examine your basic principles. You see, a lot of times people believe in something, some ideal, some cause, some whatever it may be, and it's a central part of their lives, but they never examine it. They never look at it closely to see if it's true or false. And so what happens is that that idea, that ideal, that value, it becomes an ideology. And that's a very bad thing. I mean, we've seen it over the 20th century. Nazism, communism, Pol Pot, Mao, millions of people died because of ideology. Ideas that seemed good, but nobody really examined them, and it led to horrible things. So I think it's very wise to periodically look at basic ideas that you hold and see if they are true or not. Because you see, if it's a true idea, you can examine it all you want and it's still going to be true. And if it's a false idea, by examining it, you can throw it away and discard it and forget about it and find a better idea, a true idea. You see my point? In our neck of the woods of the internet and YouTube, doxing is considered the ultimate sin. You should not dox anybody under any circumstances. However, as of late, a lot of people have been doxing people, doxing them and smearing them. In point of fact, I was doxed and smeared recently in a very damaging and very malicious way. So I think it's fair to sort of look at the idea of doxing and to figure out why it's such a bad thing. Because we all agree that it's a bad thing, but we have to ask ourselves, why is it a bad thing? Well, the answer is actually very simple. In the internet, in YouTube, you know, it's a vast territory. And like way over there, you have, say, woodworking channels. You know, guys, carpenters who make things out of wood, you know, book cabinets and what have you. And way over there, you have, for instance, those makeup channels. You know, those young girls, those 20-something girls who review makeup and do these little videos for basically teenage girls, you know. In those areas, what kind of controversy are they going to have? Well, you know, they'll have like a controversy in the woodworking area, you know, about maybe like an orbital sander, you know, or maybe a CNC machine. You know, some are going to say that this is a better CNC machine than this other one, right? But you see, whatever controversy happens over at the woodworking end of YouTube or at the makeup tutorial end of YouTube, you know, it's not going to have any real effect. You know, if some girl says that one particular brand of lipstick is better than another, it's not going to have real world consequences, right? And if people know that some young woman is doing these makeup videos, if people in the real world, in her real life, in her job perhaps, know that she's doing makeup tutorials, nobody's going to say a word. They might even applaud her and say, you know, good for you. You have 10,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers, you know, with your makeup channel. Yay, congratulations. Same with the woodworking guys. You know, the woodworking guys, in point of fact, many of them are carpenters, and so their channel is in a very real sense like a marketing tool for their business. You know, all good, right? But in our neck of the woods, insofar as YouTube is concerned, what do we traffic in? We certainly don't traffic in CNC machines and orbital sanders, and we don't traffic in mascara and makeup and what have you. We traffic in something much more dangerous. We traffic in ideas. Now, these ideas, they're not merely politically incorrect. They're politically radioactive. These ideas are as dangerous as you can get. Now, of course, as you would imagine, for people handling dangerous ideas, radioactive ideas, a lot of the people in our neck of the woods of YouTube, they go by pseudonyms. They go by pseudonyms, they create avatars, they never show their face. A lot of people are exceptionally strict about it. Now you have to ask yourself why. Well, because of the obvious reason. You see, a lot of these ideas, these very dangerous ideas, if it came out that a certain man, say Iron Man 123, who is talking about an ethno-state, if it came out that Iron Man 123, his actual name is John Smith, who lives in Hoboken, New Jersey, and he works at the whatever office, the insurance company or whatever, he could get fired. He could lose his job because of the videos that he's doing. See? And this has real world consequences. To dox somebody, to connect the pseudonym Iron Man 123 to John Smith, who works at Allstate Insurance in Hoboken, New Jersey, that could potentially end this man's life, end his career, end his employment. Potentially, with the loss of income, it could potentially end his family. I myself didn't quite realize how important this issue of doxing is until a few months ago. I was speaking with Braving Ruin. I'd just gotten to know him. I thought he was a terrific guy. I still do. And we were casually chatting on Skype, I believe. And I asked him quite casually what his real name was. And he got all paranoid. And he asked me, why do you want to know? And I said, I'm just curious. He got very paranoid. And he obviously didn't like it. And I withdrew the question and I apologized. And we hung up. But I thought to myself, yeah, he's kind of paranoid, kind of weird. What's that all about? That's kind of stupid. But then thinking about it overnight, I woke up in the morning and I thought to myself, my God, what did I do? What did I do? Because you see, Braving Ruin, whose name I have no idea, I don't even know where he lives and I'm not interested in knowing, he's running a tremendous risk. And so are a lot of other YouTubers. Because, you see, he wants to express his ideas and he has no place to express them in the real world except YouTube. If it ever came out that he's expressing these ideas, that his name corresponds to Braving Ruin, and his employer found out that he is Braving Ruin who produces these videos, he might lose his job, his career, his future prospects. And that's when I realized the importance of anonymity. That was the moment. That's when I realized I had been an utter and complete fool for having asked him this simple question. I'd asked him in perfect innocence, not realizing the implications, but now I realize those implications. Now, you have to ask yourself, why do so many YouTubers decide to do YouTube videos in this area of radioactive ideas? Well, it's very simple. Because, see, we don't have a way to express these ideas in the real world. In our real lives, we interact with different people. We have family members, friends, what have you. But some of us simply don't have a way to express the ideas that we want to entertain. Okay? Because we recognize that if we express them in the real world, people might look at us differently. Might look at us in a way that might be a look of rejection. And it might affect us. Might affect our social lives. Might affect our businesses, our employment. It could have real world consequences. A lot of YouTubers wonder why there aren't that many left-wing YouTubers. The YouTubers in our area, in our neck of the woods, they're mostly conservative or libertarians, but there aren't any lefties. Why is that? The answer is obvious. Because, see, out in the real world, if somebody espouses social justice ideas, multiculturalism, diversity, all this garbage, if they espouse these ideas, they don't suffer any consequences. If somebody's going around saying, multiculturalism, yay, diversity is our strength, bring on the brown people, import them all. If somebody says that in the real world, they don't suffer any consequences. On the contrary, they get applause. But if somebody says that mass migration might be a bad thing, if somebody makes a joke about a pug giving a Nazi salute, they can go to jail. They can be arrested, their lives ruined, all because of a joke that goes against this social justice narrative. That's the world that we're living in, okay? And so we have to respect people who decide to go about their YouTube career with a pseudonym. And it might be by chance that we find out their name. For instance, I found out the names of several very large YouTubers. Some of them I like very much, some of them I'm indifferent, and a couple I just really don't like. I would never in a million years reveal those names. No way. Even the ones I despise. Because I would be doing something morally wrong. I would be exposing them to wreck and ruin. It's just something that cannot be condoned or accepted, ever. And yet some people decide to dox YouTubers. Some people decide to do it coldly, in a calculated manner, and they have their reasons. They have very, very good reasons, not noble reasons, selfish reasons, unwholesome reasons. And so a lot of YouTubers, what do? They create these elaborate avatars, these elaborate pseudonyms, and these very elaborate barriers so that you, the audience, cannot ever quite find out who that YouTuber really is, what his real name is, right? Because it has a practical reason for it. It's not just because they want to have like a secret identity like Batman and Bruce Wayne. It's because if it came out that John Smith of Hoboken, New Jersey is espousing certain ideas, he will lose his job. His career will be over. He might lose his family. And yet he has the need to express himself, because in the real world there's no space for him to express himself. So he comes to YouTube to say what's on his mind. And maybe his ideas are stupid, right? Or maybe his ideas are very wise. It doesn't matter. He comes to YouTube to express his ideas and perhaps find people who think as he does, so that he doesn't feel so alone. Because think of it, to wander around in real world and considering ideas and thinking about ideas, about the nature of politics, the nature of our reality, about the mainstream media, all of these ideas in some man's head, and being unable to express them, unable to articulate them. YouTube is a valuable thing because it allows people the anonymity, the safety, to express these radioactive ideas that are rattling around in their heads. It's a valuable thing, that anonymity. It's something that has to be defended. And that's why in our community, anybody who doxes somebody else is rightfully ostracized, as we saw with Kraut&T. Kraut&T, for those 2 or 3 of you who don't know, Kraut&T was running a doxing server. He was collecting information on a whole host of people. People on the alt-right, people in the conservative wing of the political spectrum, people who are famous on YouTube, collecting information, personal information. And he had already contacted a reporter from the New York Times. The obvious implication was that at some point he intended to pass along the information he had collected to this reporter of the New York Times, potentially destroying the lives of numerous YouTubers. YouTubers with huge audiences, YouTubers who had deliberately concealed their identity for very good reasons. Because of their fear of being exposed, their fear of losing their employment. In my own case, I have guarded my anonymity for a very specific reason. I didn't want the past things I've done in my life to influence, for good or ill, my current channel. And I also wanted to maintain a certain line insofar as my channel is concerned in terms of the content. That's why I chose the cringy name Coach Red Pill, because it is cringy. But the idea, of course, is to be giving advice to someone younger, a young man perhaps, giving advice and explaining how the world works to a younger man. Because my motivation is that I have small children. And I have a small son, he's 2 years old. And by the time he is 30, I will most likely be dead. Because I'm almost 50 now. And so I wanted to make videos aimed at him. In point of fact, whenever I'm doing these videos, often as not, I'm thinking of him. He is my audience, okay? Because I want to tell him the things now that in 25, 30 years, I will not be able to tell him, right? And so that's why I kept my private information private. I put out my address, the studio address, because this is the studio, okay? This is an apartment I rent just for my videos and to work and, you know, fool around and do other things, right? I don't live here. I live elsewhere, okay? And insofar as this address is concerned, there is no way that if you look for this address, W25BD in London, there is no way that you will find my real name, because my real name is not attached to this property in any shape or form. And point of fact, even the rental of this apartment is not under my name, it's under a corporate name, but that's not important. But my point, see, I just use it as a mailing address, and insofar as my name is concerned, I've tried awfully hard to keep it to myself. Not because of any fear of anything, but because I wanted to concentrate on the content that I was trying to create. Yet I was doxed and I was smeared. I was smeared with some very, very ugly allegations. None of them are true. And in point of fact, somebody on 4chan, I have no idea who it is, went to the trouble of creating a 15-page rebuttal to all of these charges. You can find it right here, as well as in the description below. I have no idea who did this. I thank this person. I was overwhelmed by this care that this individual put into it, or group of individuals. I have no idea who did it. I just got it via Twitter DM from a puppet account. I was shocked and I was very pleased. It was humbling to think that somebody cares for the truth enough to have gone to the trouble to look for the truth. But you see, at the end of the day, the truth is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if the truth is beneficial or detrimental to anybody. What's most important is that we all know the truth, because only with the truth can we move forward. Only with the truth can we learn more about the world around us, understand it better, and perhaps make better decisions as to where we go into the future, right? Anyway, so I was doxed and smeared. I was doxed and smeared by a large YouTuber who went out of his way to smear my name with charges that are completely false. And, you know, it was a hit piece. It was a 45-minute hit piece. Now, it was very interesting because this individual had never done a hit piece on anybody, full stop. And certainly not one that ran 45 minutes. And certainly not one where he doxed me in the first minute. Why? Why did somebody do this? Why would somebody go to the trouble of creating a hit piece, a doxing and smearing piece about a minor YouTuber, me, because I'm minor. I have 12, 13,000 subscribers. In the scheme of things, I'm tiny. Why would anybody, especially somebody with 750,000 subscribers, why would they go to the trouble of doing a 45-minute hit piece? Do you want to know why? Why I was doxed and smeared? Because insofar as the Kraut and Tea doxing server and that whole idiotic, autistic operation, Sargon knew about it. He knew about it and said nothing. And I pointed this out. I pointed out that he knew what was going on and he should have spoken up. He should have put a stop to it. He should have raised his hand and said, look, if I see a man walking around with a gun, threatening children, threatening anybody, I'm going to try to stop them. And if I can't stop them because I don't have the physical ability to do so, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to wave my arms. I'm going to say something. I'm not going to be quiet. When you see something like that, you have to stand up. And that's what I pointed out. And I pointed out that this individual knew what Kraut and Tea was up to, and he did nothing to stop it. And because of that, I got hit with this doxing and smearing piece. It was a brilliant move. I mean, Saul Alinsky, who did the book Rules for Radicals, could not have done this better. This was a brilliant chess move because the one move accomplished multiple purposes. On the one hand, it distracted from the fact that this individual knew what CrowdNT was up to. It completely distracted everybody from that core fact. It was like, look at this bad man, look at this bad man. Oh yes, I knew about CrowdNT. Look at this bad man, look at this bad man. On the other hand, again, straight out of the pages of Saul Alinsky, by smearing me as a con man, smearing me as an evil incarnate, smearing me in every way possible, he accomplished Saul Alinsky's goal, because Saul Alinsky says, it's not enough to defeat an opponent, you have to destroy him so that he leaves the field of battle. And the third thing that was accomplished with this hit piece, and this was really the most despicable part, it showed that this individual is willing to dox and smear anybody, anyone at all, no matter how minor, if they threaten him. A lot of people on 4chan and other nooks and crannies of the internet have been wondering why everybody has been so quiet. The big YouTubers have been so quiet about what Sargon did. And the answer is very simple: fear. Because what Sargon did was to basically show that he was willing to dox and smear anyone who threatened him. They were in the actions of a bully. You can't look at it any other way. Because by doing what he did, he was basically saying to everybody, if you cross me, I'm going to dox and smear you. And everybody in this area of radioactive ideas, everybody was very afraid. Very afraid. Afraid of what could happen to them in the real world. But now, this individual, who has proven himself willing to commit such acts, is presenting himself as a leader of our area of YouTube and the internet. He is presenting himself, positioning himself as the undisputed sole leader. That's what he did in a video just yesterday, as a matter of fact. He positioned himself as the leader, and he says that everybody should band with him. This is a man who uses intimidation and bullying tactics, doxing and smearing people, knowing full well that such doxing and smearing of people can destroy their livelihoods. So, I want to ask the wider YouTube community, is this the man that you want to represent you? Is this the man you want to follow? Is this the man that you want as your leader?